Hi everybody, this is Abby with Scrappin' Abby, and this is a project that I'm getting ready to start, and it is for one of my 3+ projects for the current 2014-15 May Arts Design Team Call, and I'm really excited to try out again this year. I made it to the second round last year, and I'm hoping I make it all the way this time, or at least to the second round again, so I'm really super excited. I love May Arts, I have lots of their ribbon, and I'm just a big fan. So what I'm going to be creating for this first project is I've actually got here a little linen art journaling book from Maya Road, and I'm going to be using this to create kind of like a little mini book, like a mini day book, something along that line. I'm not really, possibly some journaling space, that kind of thing. But I really like having this for a blank canvas to use, especially with the 3 different ribbons I've selected from my May Arts stash. I think these are going to go really well with this. It just is kind of just like a perfect fit. So these are the 3 different trims from May Arts I'm going to be using. I will be incorporating some different, like some jute string, possibly some other ribbon, but I'm mostly going to be using, pulling from these 3 spools here. And I will list the item numbers in the description below if you guys are interested in which ones I'm using for sure. So some of the components I'm thinking of using for the paper collection from My Mind's Eye, this Bramble Rose. I really like the colors and of the papers inside here. I think it's just perfect with that linen book. Again, coordinating really well with the May Arts trims that I'm going to be using. I might play with one of my new Prima Finnabar stencils, the doily on the book. I always pull just a little bit of some different metal embellishments, flowers, that kind of stuff that I think are little metal pieces that I think I want to incorporate just to kind of add a little bit of a pop. Some keys and things like that are in that container. And then I have pulled from some of my flowers. I might want to use some of these leaves, maybe alter them a little bit and put them on there. Might use some jute twine. And then I have this roll of burlap trim. And then I also have in this little dish here, these are just like some little gold, they're not like bling pieces, but they're kind of like flat back, beads. What do they call those things? Like dots. Not candy dots, but you know what I mean. And then some flowers that I might incorporate in the project. I might pull from some of these 3 packages here, and probably alter this a little bit because it's kind of not as muted as I would like, but these 3 packs look really well. And then maybe one of these birdcage resin pieces, possibly one of these metal hangers. And then probably some stenciling because I like to put some, rub-ons in there. So what I'm going to do is have a tutorial portion in part of this video showing you guys how I'm going to be creating some different flowers using these 3 different trims from May Arts. Now I may not make this one per se into a flower, but definitely working with these 2 as well for sure for the cover of my album. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of get my workspace cleared off, and I'll come back when I'm ready to make the flowers for the tutorial portion of my video. See you in just a little bit. So I have something really fun to share with you guys. I wanted to show you how I'm creating some of the different embellishments for the linen little mini book that I'm working on. And I'm using some of this May Arts trim right here. And I'll show you the item number. I actually won this in one of the giveaways Bethany had, so I don't know the exact name of this color, but I really like it. It's a really pretty kind of coral peach, and it's got a little slight wire edge to it, so you can form it to make like a bow or add some dimension to your projects. And so I've used this in a lot of different applications in different projects, and I thought, I wonder if I could stamp on this and create my own personalized embellishment, just because I want to incorporate additional ways of using the May Arts trim instead of just the normal applications of tying or making binding or things like that. So what I've done is I just used one of my stamps, and this is the kind of the pennant banner stamp, and this is from My Mind's Eye, the Lost and Found collection. And then what I've done is just use some of the Tim Holtz Distress ink in tea dye, because that's the color that worked best for the project I'm working on. I have a distress marker in walnut stain, and then I'm using my Prima tool, the little wire bristle tip right here. So I'm going to show you guys how I created this. And then this is, what it starts from is the trim. This is what it looks like after you do the first stamping with the tea dye. And then I go around the edge with the walnut stain distress marker to kind of give it a little bit of a border. And then I just trim it out. And then I use my distress tool, and it gave it that really cool, it's probably hard to see on my hand, but let me hold it up on this right here. this really cool kind of shabby distress, and I really like that. So I'm going to show you guys how I did this and how it's fairly easy to do. It's, you know, it's a lot of fun. So I'm going to move this over. Okay. And then all I did is I didn't even really measure. I just kind of eyeballed, you know, the strip that I'm using just based off of the size of the stamp. And I'm not wasting the edges. I'll show you what I'm going to do with those as well. Let me zoom the camera in just a little bit so you guys can see a little better here. And I'm filming at night, so I apologize if the light has some shadow because I'm trying to get the best lighting I can in my craft room when it's evening. So all I've done is just taken, it doesn't matter which side you use either for the, you know, when you do your stamping, is I just took my ink here and just, you know, juiced up the stamp really well with the ink. And again, I'm using the tea dye because that's the one that works, like I was saying, the best for the project. And then do that. And then I'm just going to simply take this and just stamp right in the center. And it might look like kind of funky at first, or like, gosh, that doesn't look like the ink is all over the stamp, because you can see like there's little dots and stuff. That's just from the fibers. But trust me, it does work, because you can see it here. And I think it's really cool when it's kind of variated like that. It's not a solid, and it kind of goes along with that shabbiness. Now I can't show you because it's off my craft table. What I kind of do is I take this and I because I was stamping closer to myself, and I just kind of gently, you know, kind of roll this off the edge of my table slightly and then back up, just to kind of give a little bit more of an impression, but you don't have to do that. So let me go ahead, and you can also even flip it over too and do this if you want. And you do want to make sure that you're stamping on a piece of, you know, scrap cardstock like what I'm doing, or on a craft mat or something like that, because since this is a thinner, more sheer type of ribbon, it will go through. So you can see the stamped image right there. It turned out pretty good. And then we'll go ahead and work with the distress marker now. And I'm not even going to worry about trying to dry this at all, because it doesn't matter. Usually before, when I use a distress marker inks like this, I usually dry them, because they, you know, if I end up spraying or doing some other spritzing, you know, they are a water based, so they will run. But I'm not worried about that because I'm not going to be doing any spraying. So I'm just going to be simply tracing this. Again, this is with the walnut stain, and I'm not going to worry about being perfect at all, because I'm going to be cutting this out. This is really just to kind of give it that dark edge borderline. One, for me to kind of have something to trace on when I'm cutting, but also so I have just that little bit of dark edge when I do the distressing, and I just really like how that looks. Just kind of go over like that, and then we're just going to do it again this way. And there's all kinds of fun stamps you could use. I mean, I have outlines of these, the same kind of flag. You could use solid, you know, you could do flowers. I mean, the possibilities are really endless, and I just think it's another fun way to use your Mayarts ribbon in this other application. So there we have, and that's the next step there with the ink around the edge. I'm just going to grab my scissors here and cut this out. And then, like I said, I'm not going to worry about being too perfect. I'm trying not to cut on the line too much, but I also don't want to leave too much of that outer edge. You know, I don't want to leave any type of a border between my ink, my distressed ink, and the ribbon here. I just want to kind of cut right on the edge. And if you go a little too close, either way, it doesn't matter. Because you know what? It's a shabby album that I'm working on, and we're going to distress the edges anyway, so it doesn't even matter. So I'll do that. I'll cut these pieces here. And then the next step is to take the distress tool, and I'll show you that in just a second. And if you don't have one of those tools, because I didn't have one, I didn't get that one until last October. I mean, you can just use like a wire brush or whatever you have. It does not have to be something fancy like that if you don't have that. And then I just work off this little wood block just so I don't scratch at my craft table. And I'm just going to take the tool, and you want to be careful that you don't, because I've accidentally hit my fingers with this and it doesn't feel very good. So you wanted to take the tool, and I'm just kind of slightly, you know, pulling the fabric a little bit. And then I'm kind of exaggerating that motion on the corner. See how that really shabby look is coming along? I love that. And I'm kind of intentionally doing more distressing with the tool in other areas more than others, just to kind of, you know, give it a little bit of uniqueness so it doesn't look like it's, you know, cookie cutter. And then even though you're going to have some of those fibers hanging off, that's totally fine, because I'm going to be going through here and just kind of just quickly snipping them not a big deal. And I'm intentionally leaving these right here because I like that look, that frayed look right there. So I'm just trimming off these longer ones. So I'm still working on the page where these are going to be applied, but I'll give you just a quick idea of how these are going to look or what my thoughts are on using this. Is I'm going to use my tiny attacher, and on the bottom of my page that I'm working on, I'm going to take these and kind of fold them down like this, and then I'm going to use my tiny attacher and staple them, and then I'm going to hang them on another piece of the trim. So it's going to be kind of like a folded down, shabby kind of little banner. And I may stamp actual letters on here to spell a word, or I might just leave it plain too. I'm not sure yet. It kind of works along with the process of how the page develops. But I just want to give you guys just a quick tutorial on a really cool way to use your May Arts ribbon to create embellishments for your projects. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys. So I'll be back with another piece of the project. See you in a minute. Okay, now I'd like to share with you guys how to create a beautiful flower that you can use as an embellishment for your project. And I'm actually going to be using this on the cover of my little mini book, and I wanted to show you guys how I created this, and it's really super easy to do using the May Arts trim. So this one, I'm going to be using this particular trim right here because that's what I'm using in the rest of the book. And you can really make this in any size that you want. I'm just happen to use, I think it's like my 1-inch circle punch, and I'm just using a piece of scrap cardstock. I always keep the leftover pieces to either, you know, practice stamps on, or for coloring, or, you know, to use for the basis of my flowers that I create. So I'm going to go ahead and move the white so you guys can actually see a little bit better. And then what I'm going to do is use some score tape. Now you can use any kind of adhesive you want. I've seen people do it with liquid adhesive. To me, I don't like that because I don't want it to, you know, seep up into my trim. And then I've also seen, you know, people use hot glue and like the little gloobers. But I like to just use score tape because it's, oops, sorry, I didn't realize the camera was so close. This is what I like to use. It's because it just works best for me. So what I'm going to do is just run my score tape over this. And I know that this is stuff you can tear because it's on paper, but I kind of have OCD and I like to cut my score tape. So let me do this real quick here. And I didn't have this prepared before I started the video because I wanted to show how to do this just in case somebody wasn't sure, you know, how do you get the adhesive on there if you don't have, you know, like the larger glue dots or something like that. Or you could also even run it through your Xyron machine if you wanted to. I just find this is much faster, and I just, you know, like using the score tape. I'm just going to give it a quick press just to make sure it's all down. And you don't need to worry about trimming off because it's overlapping, because the beauty of the score tape, I'll show you here in a second, one of the many things I love about it, you just simply fold it over itself, and all it does is just gives you a little bit more adhesive. It doesn't bump up or anything to where the project looks kind of funky because you got extra, you know, adhesive on top of itself there, and I just like how that looks. So I'm gonna get this one popped off here, and we'll get the last one flipped over, and then I'm gonna show you guys how to create that flower. It's really easy. I have a tutorial I did with my daughter. I think it was almost a year ago now, if not a little past a year, where she and I made some flowers together. And this is the same technique, same style. And I'm actually going to do it just a little bit because I wanted to share with you really quickly. Now, you can use, you know, the ribbon in the width that it is if you want. I chose to cut mine in half because it gave me just a little bit, you know, I was using not as much for this project. Trying to conserve if you want to do that. I do have a whole roll here, of course, but I, you know, just like try different ways to do things. And if you wanted to use the entire width, it would be just a much taller flower, which I think is really pretty. But for the scale of the book that I'm using, this is the cover, this is a much better size. I didn't want to make it too big. But if I was using this on a canvas or a 12 by 12 layout, then it would make more sense, of course, to have a little bit larger. Now, I didn't measure what I did. I just ran some off, you know, about there. And then look at my, pardon my reach here, I'm going to grab my bigger scissors, trim that down. And again, I wanted to do everything on camera so you guys could see. I'm not going to worry about being too fussy and cutting exactly down the center because it's not going to matter. You know, just kind of a rough down the center here because, you know, you're going to be putting this onto the adhesive and you know, kind of curling it up anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So the important thing is, let me zoom back down again. try not to go too fast, I don't make you guys dizzy, is you want to make sure that you're placing this end onto the adhesive, not this end, because this is, I want this outer edge, that ribbon, to be there. Now you could of course flip it this way if you wanted to, but this is what I want to do for my project. So I'm just going to simply take this and to stick it on to the flower, and you can see that's about how far in I am. If you want to make your edge a little bit narrower, you know, you would make adjustments and go in farther. If you want it wider, then you would go out farther to the edge. That's just kind of where I'm going to do mine, so it kind of matches my other flower. And I don't know if I'm going to end up using this one on this project or not, because I already made one, but this is definitely something I could put in my flower stash of things I've already made, other handmade flowers out of ribbon and laces and things like that. So just to show you what I'm doing, I'm just doing a simple pleating, just putting it down and making, like, pressing down and then pushing forward. So just a simple pleat is all I'm doing right there. And it doesn't matter if there's gaps and things right here, because flowers aren't uniform in nature anyway, so it's totally fine that it looks different. So as you can see, it's hard for me to hold it up, so I just do this and then I just do like a quick press, like it makes a little pleat. That's all I do. And you just do this all the way around, and then when you reach the end of the outer circle, you just kind of start slowly working your way into the center, and you won't even notice that you've started to go in the middle. So you can see that there. That's just kind of what I did. And I'm going to take my other half and continue on doing the same thing, and just until I get to the center. And what's really cool is you can use all kinds of things for the center pieces of this. You can use stamens, you can use beads, buttons, kind of, you know, flat back pearls. I've put together a bunch of the little, like little mini bonbons, or little flat back tiny pieces, kind of like this. I've piled those in the center before, or I've even used beads off of necklaces that I don't wear anymore. And it's just a really fun way to make a center for your flower. And so what you do once you get to the center, you want to go ahead and snip off the end and just kind of eyeball where, you know, you think you're going to end it. And then you just simply take this and then tuck it in. And then since you have adhesive in the center, you just push in there. And if you find that it's not sticking, like see how this is kind of popping up there just a little bit, you have two choices. One, you can just ignore it, not worry about it, because you're going to put something in the center anyway, which will hold this down. Or you can go back and take just a tiny piece of the score tape, and I'll show you that, and you can lay it down and it'll stick just fine. And you don't even have to have a center even in your flower if you don't want to. You don't, you know, if you want to just leave it like it is, I think it's really pretty that way as well. But I think just to kind of dress it up and, you know, maybe have it kind of customized with the project a little bit. If you have like a coordinating button or something, you know, piece of bling or something elsewhere in the project there. And then there's the extra piece of score tape, and I'm just going to simply take that piece and fold it down. And you can't even tell. And so the flowers, you can see, is, you know, pretty cool looking like that. But to make it kind of have that dimension as this one, this is just the fun part. You just take it and you just kind of start playing it, because this is a wire edge trim. And so you can really crimple this up and make this into, you know, you can exaggerate this as much as you want and make it more of a close. You can have some shape, you know, however you want to do it. And then just, you know, make it to what you want it to be. So that's kind of a fun thing to do with these flowers. And so this is what they look like. That's with something in the center, and this is without. So it's kind of a fun project, I think. Really quick and easy. You can sit there and watch your TV or some YouTube channels or something like that and make a bunch of these up, so you have some for extra projects down the road. So let me share with you a couple other things that I've used the trim in my book. I'm not all the way done yet. I'm almost there, but I wanted to make sure that I was including some of the different, you know, techniques and things that I'm using for the book. This is the cover. I never do the cover till the end, so that's why it looks like that. But what I wanted to share with you is a couple different applications. Remember when I made the banner, these pieces here, and I shared with you guys that I wasn't going to be throwing away the pieces that I cut out, because this is what's left after I cut that banner shape out. Well, what I've done, I've used this scrap piece in a couple different applications, and I had about 4 or 5 I think I made total. So what I did for one of them is I just snipped off, you know, I just snipped these long pieces off of here and then used them as a topper for this tag right here, and I thought that was kind of cute. I just stapled them with my tiny Tatcher, and I'm intentionally leaving them because I like how they stick over the top like that. I think that's cute. And then I also took another one and ran it through my little butterfly right there, I thought that was kind of fun. It's kind of mimicking, you know, the little antennas that butterflies have. And then on this one, you can totally stamp on the Mayarts trim. This is like a more of a satin one, and I was wondering if it was really going to work because I always stamp on, like, you know, all the other different like canvas trims and cotton and that kind of stuff. But I really wanted to try this, and I think it turned out perfect. You guys can see, you know, it didn't bleed. It's very crisp and clear, so that's another fun way. And then down the center here, I wanted to kind of have some filler for my book. I think it looks cute like that, but I really like that extra touch. So I'm going to show you how to create that. I'm working on the last 2 pages, so I won't put that on there yet, but I'll show you on this front page here what I did. And again, I just used more of the score tape, and this happens to be the 1/8 inch or 1/8 width score tape that I'm using. Just to show you guys. Grab a piece here. So that's what I'm using. And I'm just going to run this down the center, and I will zoom in just a little bit so you can see. There we go. And I'm just going to start. Now, I'm not making mine go past the stitch line. I want mine to stop at the stitch line. So I'm starting there, and I'm just simply running this down the center of the book. I'm just taking my finger to press it down. You could use, you know, your bone folder if you wanted to do that. And then I'm just going to cut it. And then, so I don't have any waste with my trim, I'm just setting my entire spool of, this is the trim I'm using for this one. That's the item number. I'm just going to put it right there, get it ready, and then I'm going to go ahead and go in here and peel off the paper, backing from the adhesive. And then I'm just going to take this and just keep it on the spool and just lay this down right here in the center. And I'm going to put it on the top up there, and then just kind of push my finger in there so it stays, and then run my fingernail down the center again, and then it's adhered. And you can't see it because the score tape is clear. I love that stuff, and it's just perfect for adhering ribbons that are sheer like this because you can't see it. I love it. And that's how that looks. And so it's just a really quick, easy way to add some different texture and dimension to your books and your different projects down the spine. And you can see again how it looks just plain, which I think is great, you know, until I get the, obviously the pages embellished, but you can see right down there how that looks. So anyway, just wanted to share that little trick with you guys in addition to creating the flower. And I'm going to go ahead and get the book completed. I'm going to come back one final time because I'm going to create the binding for the book, and then I'll be completely done with this project. So I'll see you in just a little bit. And here is the completed little linen canvas mini book, and I am really happy with how this turned out. I think it's super adorable, and I love all the different ways that you can use the Mayarts ribbon and trim in this project, and this adds such elegance, I think, and this really adds a lot of different texture and dimension. So let me to show you the front of the cover here. So this is the flower that I made using some of the Mayarts trim, and then this is the one that I showed you guys in the tutorial portion. So you can see that you can really, you know, kind of crinkle this up a little bit because it's got that wire edge trim to it. This is a little metal brad I stuck in the center, a couple metal leaves, and then some jute twine right there. And then underneath here, tucked underneath on top of some burlap, I made like little, you know, little fishtail banners. And this, these two right here are the remainder of the banners that I use on the inside. And I also showed that in the tutorial portion as well. And this is just some stenciling I did. Used some gold smooch and a couple different sprays. Some little gold flat back little, they're not really like pearls, more like this little embellishments, little metal corner here. And then what I did is I have this stamp, and this is from Christy Tomlinson. I'll show it to you really quickly. It says My Story. I stamped it with some jet black ink from Ranger, and then I just used some glossy accents on the My, and then some crackle on the little brackets. I thought that was kind of a cool little texture to that. And then for the binding, I just used some of that Mayarts trim and wrapped it around underneath, and then just made this really cute, sweet bow. So I like how it looks. It's kind of, you know, it's not super chunky like I normally make my minis, because I like that this was just a little bit smaller version of what I normally do. And I love the frayed edges here. I think it's really nice. And then I'm going to show you guys the inside. We'll go through each of the pages. Now, I didn't add any additional pages to this linen album because it just came with just the 4, so I wanted to kind of keep it at that. So this is what the inside front looks like, and I have some more of the Mayarts trim right there. And there's just some more of that same paper line. The only paper I used, with the exception of this craft cardstock, is all from that My Mind's Eye collection I shared with you guys at the beginning. And then I just did a little bit of distressing, and then curl the pages up and have some of these little sweet flowers poking out. Just kind of thought that was kind of cute. And then I stamped Find Beauty in All Things. And then here are those little banners, fishtail banners I made. in the tutorial. These are little scrap pieces that I use to tie this little key on. And then just some more of the burlap kind of twine there. And down the center here is the other May Arts trim that I use. I'll show you guys all three trims at the end of the video. Again, I don't have the names of them. I just have the actual spools with the item number. On this page, I did some stamping, background stamping, to kind of add some texture on both this page and this one as well. And then this is some vellum. So this also is not from the collection, but I just added that piece to go with some of the paper for the background. I love that crinkled look. I think it looks really neat. And you can just slip a picture right underneath here, no problem. Little metal butterfly, and I used some more of the scraps from the fishtail banners to make kind of mimic the antennas. And then create the dream. And then some more of those gold little embellishments there. And this is a tag that I tea stained quite some time ago. I do a bunch of them in advance, so I have some ready for projects. And then I did some stamping on this ribbon. And then this was kind of cool. I used some more of the scraps and made a little topper for my tag with some staples. So never throw your scraps away, because you can always use them either in the project you're working on or another project. And especially if it's May Arts, I don't like to throw that kind of stuff away. This is a rub-on that I use, this little bird cage. I just did some dry brush painting with some white craft paint, which is actually what I did on all the pages, but you can really see it on this one. And then I stamped the word Serenity. This is just a little paper leaf, and I just curled the wire. Again, added more of that really pretty gold trim right down the center. And then on this one, I did alter the actual May Arts trim with a little bit of some spray that I had kind of watered down. It's I can't remember, I think it's from Smooch as well, but I just didn't want it to be quite so bright pink. So I just did a little bit of dots here and there, added some gold Smooch paint to the little bird cage, and then used some more of the scraps to make it a little topper for the top of the bird cage. And then the back side, I just did a couple different layers of some background stamping just to kind of give it some interest on the back side as well. And then that's the mini. So I think it's really cute how this turned out. This is just kind of a fun way to use your different May Arts ribbons and trims, not only as binding or just traditional bows or things like that, but as I've kind of shared with you guys, you can make little fishtail banners. You can make, you can use them for your own embellishments. You can create flowers for your own embellishments, add other decorative elements to the page, and then also use it as a really kind of unique kind of visual interest in the binding. Now this isn't actually holding the book together because the book is already bound together, but I like how it kind of gives it a little bit extra look, to that. And then you just simply tie it up like this, and it's really super sweet. And you can do a double knot or you can do a single knot, whichever you prefer. I kind of think the double knot's cute. And then I love this wire edge ribbon because you can shape it however you want it to be. Just really, really cute. So these are the three trims that I use for this project. This is the first one. It's kind of like that corally, and that's the item number for that one. And then the second one is this really pretty cream kind of ruffled or pleated, I'm not sure. And then there's the number for that one. And then this last one, oops, let me flip it over. It's this really pretty gold kind of sheer. I love that with a little bit of a ruffled edge to it. And so those are the three spools of ribbon that I used. And just to kind of recap a couple things I didn't show before, this was the gold Smooch I used on some of the accent pieces. And then I did use my Distress Marker Walnut Stain to kind of accent around some of the pages as well. And the three different combination of sprays I used is this White Linen from Delusions, from Lindy Stamp Gang, the Stardust, and it's the Mission Bells Brown. And then from Adirondack, the Espresso. I kind of use this a little bit of that because that's pretty dark and a little bit goes a long way. So that is my little mini linen book for you guys. And this is also one of my submissions for the current May Arts design team. I'm not sure if I said that in the very beginning or not. I can't remember. I think I did. Anyway, so this is going to be the tutorial video as well as a written step out tutorial on my blog. Because I have photos of me doing each of the different elements except for the flower because I made the flower live on camera. So I didn't, get pictures of that since I was doing it live on camera as well. And so yeah, I'll have this up on my blog, and the deadline is June 9th. So I'll have it up there either the day before or the day of. And yeah, so keep your fingers crossed for me, you guys, because I would love to be a part of the May Arts design team. I'm always using their lovely ribbons and trims in my projects, and hopefully I was able to inspire you guys to see that you can also use these amazing products to embellish all kinds of different little mini books and different crafting projects that you have going on. So thanks, you guys. Happy crafting, and I'll see you next time.